Got an amazing guest today. I'm so excited to talk to this guy. I read his most recent book that is available for pre-order now. He is an investigative journalist and reporter. He's done work for the BBC. He's done work for The Guardian. You already know who he is. And his most recent book, How Trump Stole 2020, really takes a deep dive into all the election integrity issues facing the United States and recent years. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Greg Palast. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Ron. Glad to be with you.
Thanks for being here.
What's going on is the smell of mendacity. So trying to help you steal back your election. That's why. So I wrote a book called How Trump Stole 2020. Actually, wait, he disappeared. Magic trick.
Nice. There it is.
How
there
Trump
it is.
Stole, you don't have it, Ron. Ron had to read it in PDF. It's not out till next week. That is it on Tuesday, July 14th, Bastille Day. And by the way, I feel bad about one thing because I want you to pre-order it now. One, to get us on the bestseller list so they can't ignore us. And second, if you order it this week, I have I've worked out a deal with the publisher that you also, if you send me your receipt, like a screen grab or something like that, or to gregpalast.com, you get a free audiobook. That's like $30 usually. So you get the audiobook for gratis if you can pre-order this week. Okay, that's enough of the commercial. And by the way, I'm allowed to do a commercial for a simple reason. I don't make a damn dime off this book. 100% goes to my foundation, the Palast Investigative Fund. This is not for profit, nonpartisan, for a good reason. Do you think anyone's going to sponsor some guy saying that Trump is stealing the election? No. No, not even Joe Biden is going to pay for that. That's another. Well, that's in the book too about like where's Democrats all this vote stealing?
Yeah.
You don't ask me that, But so I have a chapter called "Silence of the Democratic Lambs," but it's all about the theft of the election. But I don't want people to think how Trump stole 2020 is some type of crystal ball prediction. I don't have crystal balls, and what I have is the facts. The election's stolen. We can steal it back. We can bust the burglary, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, and there are no sacred cows in your book. I mean, you go after election integrity from all sides, from all, like, you look at it from all angles. And I'll tell you this, since you brought up the pre-order, I hope he doesn't check out this show or the surprise is going to be spoiled. But your book is actually my dad's Father's Day gift.
Oh,
so yeah. So I didn't know. You sent me the PDF.
No, it's already Father's Day. It's passed, so it's okay.
No, it's passed. Yeah, but I went to.
You forgot Father's Day?
No, I didn't forget. I pre-ordered it that early. I wanted to get it for him because I read the PDF that you sent me, and I'm like, well, I'm getting this for my dad for Father's Day. He would love this book, and this is an important read. And then my wife actually told me. She goes, it's not actually out yet. Like, you got an advance thing and you can pre-order. And I was just like, well, whatever, pre-order it and he'll get it when he gets. Time's not really a thing anymore amidst the pandemic. I know. I'm like, he'll know it's on its way.
Yeah. I mean, what month is it?
Yeah, exactly. I just told him, I was like, Happy Father's Day. There's a thing. You'll know it when you get it. When he sees that book, he'll be like, that's from my son. And he'll know what it is. So
what's so giftable about the book? What did you like?
I liked the way you unpacked so many issues. And some of it was work that I was familiar with because I heard you talk about it on the Jimmy Dore show, or just kind of read like other articles you contributed to, like the magic word Democratic crossover ballot that you had to request here in California, which, for anyone not in the know, and we covered that on this show because that was important information for voters to have. I got emails from people like, hey, I wouldn't have known that, and I wouldn't have been able to vote for Bernie had I not known that because I'm a no party preference voter.
Well, in fact, so there's a whole chapter. I mean, most of the book, look, Trump stole 2020. He doesn't have the brain cells for it. We're talking about the hitmen that he hires to do the dirty for him. And that, so GOP vote thieves. But unfortunately, there's a couple of Democratic vote rustlers too, especially in California, where it's a one-party state. And so I have a chapter called California Reman about how Bernie Sanders was shafted out of 553,000 votes in this past California primary. Understand the book was really unusually. Most books are written a year in advance of publication. This went from my laptop to a week later was in print, and it's now being shipped. So you just saw. So it does have the California primary in there, and it does have a lot of information about the dangers of mail-in voting. And I mentioned the dangers, not so you don't go in the water because they're sharks. I'm telling you how to chase away the sharks and keep your vote, because they're going to try to steal it. And that's really the whole core of the book. When I say Trump has stolen 2020, we can undo. The reason is 16.7 million people have been removed from the voter rolls. And if you're watching this, chances 1 in 12, your vote's been wiped out. If you're Black, by the way, Hispanic, Asian American, or under 25, the chance that your vote, that you've been purged from the voter rolls, is more like 1 in 6. So please don't screw up. Check your registration. I don't care if you've been at the same voting station for 50 years. And the reason I say 50 years, I was with Christine Jordan, who'd been voting at the same voting station for 50 years in Atlanta, Georgia. This is in the book. I was there at the Atlanta voting station when they took this 92-year-old woman and told her to get the hell out because there's no record of her voting. She's been voting 50 years since her cousin, Martin Luther King, was assassinated. 50 years. And they threw her off. Now, I knew that because my investigators had the list of the people that were removed by the Republican Secretary of State, who, by the way, he's purging voters. He's running the elections. He's saying these people can't vote, most of these opponents. And he's Secretary of State while he's running for governor. That was a scamp named Brian Kemp. Now, I'm making fun of his accent because he talks like this so he could fool the goobers in Georgia. Now, he doesn't actually talk like this. He actually had a New South accent, wore blue suits, red ties, and he's running for governor, and suddenly he shows himself with a shotgun and a pickup truck, and he actually says, I got me a pickup truck so I can round up illegal aliens. I'm going to round them up myself. That was really his campaign commercial. He's running with Stacey Abrams, the first Black woman to ever run for governor of any state in America. And so he's suddenly doing this redneck thing completely, it's a con. But in the meantime, he can't win. There's not enough white guys for Kemp to win in Georgia and for for Agent Orange to be reelected in 2020. So what you have to do is get rid of the non-white, non-guys, and that will get you elected. And that's what Kemp did. And then they took that program national. Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, purging the voter rolls, removing voters. And then there's, that's just the beginning of the gimmicks in there.
Well, you brought up a particular thing, and there were a lot of things going on in that book. But one of the things that really stuck out to me is you brought up in Wisconsin, I believe it was Wisconsin, where they really were able to target a lot of young people, like students and stuff like that, because they just have that assumption where they're just like, oh, you didn't show up last year or whatever. You must have moved. You're out.
Yes. So one of the big tricks that they're using now is if you're in what they call an inactive voter. Now, an inactive voter is someone who, bought a gym membership but just sits on the couch. An inactive voter is someone who missed a federal election, like you missed a presidential, you skipped it, or you skipped a midterm. And they say, well, that's evidence, believe it or not, that you moved. There's a lot of reasons why people don't vote for some reason. It doesn't mean you've moved. They send you a postcard, which looks like junk mail, you miss it. And the result of this gimmick of saying you didn't vote and that means you've moved. Because if you moved, obviously, for example, I looked at the Wisconsin purge list. They said, They said that Saquonna Taylor had moved from Milwaukee. It's an African-American woman, so we're not surprised that she was on the purge list. And they said that she'd moved out of Milwaukee. And so I talked to her. I said, did you move out of Milwaukee? She says, no, I didn't move out of Milwaukee. I'm the Milwaukee County supervisor. So do you think she moved out of Milwaukee, the supervisor? She's also on the school board, but hey. So this is the trickery. So how do they know that she's a black woman? How do they know that, so the purge list was hugely heavy with people in Milwaukee and Madison, which is, of course, the University of Wisconsin. So students and African Americans. How do they know? They understand the statistics that if you use so people have registered, online. They communicate that way. They send the state their email. By the way, most voters give the state their email and phone number. And they send them a postcard. Now, in the inner city, about 20% of those cards never arrive to voters. So automatically, they don't even get the card to save their vote. And once you get it, it looks like junk mail. So this is a trick that they're using nationwide. It may sound, it's not as fancy or as sexy as someone in a cave playing with the software on the voting machine. Let me tell you something. A lot of African Americans would be happy to have their vote stolen. They don't get to vote. You get wiped off the voter rolls. So in Wisconsin, they figured out, and then they added this other stuff when he said, how do you target people? I have a chapter called Wisconsin Eats Its Young. Now remember, well, you may not remember this. It's just a trivia question at this point, but Donald Trump, Agent Orange, won Wisconsin by just 22,000 votes. They are trying to wipe out, as you see in my book, over 150,000 voters illegally. Now we're getting into 6 times Trump's so-called victory margin. And again, I said it was mainly black people and students. Now, if that doesn't work, they're going to use the trick that they used in 2016. Like, how did Trump win Wisconsin, which is, blue cheese eaters? You don't even think about it. I mean, everyone knocks Hillary for not campaigning a single day in Wisconsin. Well,
you know what? Fair.
She didn't think about the steal. She's incredibly naive. And so what happened was 2 weeks before the election, they changed the voter ID laws so that you have to have a state photo ID. Now, say, okay, well, you have a license. Well, excuse me? Who doesn't have a driver's license? Ron, people without cars. Who doesn't have cars? Urban livers, low-income people who use the bus. In other words, they're voters
and college students a lot of times.
Blue, Democrat, right?
Yeah.
So it's African Americans, Hispanics in Milwaukee, and then who else doesn't have photo voter IDs? Well, here's the interesting one. The University of Wisconsin has 182,000 students. 182,000 students. Now think of that. That's 6 times. No, my math is wrong. It's 9 times Trump's margin of victory.
Yeah.
182,000 students. They have state photo IDs, but those photo IDs can't be used for voting. You'd have to use your concealed carry gun license you can use, but not your student ID. So this is how they play these games. And this is how they are stealing. They stole Wisconsin. They'll try it again this time because they still have those same horrible laws. They're trying to purge these voters. But I have to say, here's a big difference. For all the trickery, Ron, for all the trickery, Scott Walker, who was the Republican governor, a vicious vote suppressor, nasty, and the effects are racial, horrible. Despite all his nasty little vote thieving tricks, he was thrown out of office in 2018.
He was?
Yep. And replaced by Tony Evers and a young African-American lieutenant governor who then brought me in and said, Greg, please help out. Greg Palast, please help out with the voter rolls here.
So they actually reached out to you directly?
Yep.
Was that in the book? I don't recall that part. But
in the book.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna have to test you, Ron. You said you read the book.
I did read the book. I mean, I read it when you first sent it to me. I don't know if.
You're gonna have to do the.
You're
gonna have the class review your entire book review now.
I guess so.
But yes, if you look in the book, Mandela Bar. So this, believe it or not, this is like insane. The state of Wisconsin actually reached out to me and said, "Can you go through this purge list? The Republicans left us this list, and they're trying to make us purge the voter rolls." And we think that this list is phony. That included Saquana Taylor, the black woman, the black supervisor of Milwaukee County, who they want to remove. And so, the whole list. So we went through the list, and with experts, and yeah, it's phony. These people haven't moved anywhere. And you know what? The state, if they simply send them an email, would have known that. But they don't want students. They don't want black folk to vote. But that's all over the country, but especially it's geared into swing states. And then you'll see that it's a whole chapter also called Michigan, Michigas, same thing. And there it's about not getting your ballots counted. Don't tell anyone, Ron, but we don't count all the ballots in America. That's official. We have this, people say these numbers are insane. But the thing is, I didn't make up the numbers. They came from the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission, which is this little agency which tracks our votes and also our non-votes. So, for example, 2 million ballots were cast and disqualified in 2016, including 75,355 ballots which were disqualified because the vote counting machines, which are scanners, they scan the paper, broke down in Michigan. And where did they break down? They broke down in Detroit. So if you lost 75,000 votes in Detroit, tell me who won Michigan, because supposedly Donald Trump won Michigan by 10,700 votes. But wait, so he wins by 10,000 votes, but 75,000 votes aren't counted in Detroit. Whose votes do you think those are in Motown?
Yeah.
Trump did not win Michigan if you count those votes. Trump didn't win Wisconsin if you counted the students that were blocked from voting and African Americans in Milwaukee. Trump didn't win Ohio if you put back on the voter rolls the voters that were purged, over 1 million. And here's the other ugly thing. We're all excited about mail-in voting. 22%, 1 out of 5 mail-in ballots never gets counted. About half of those never get. Ron, you can't mail in your ballot if it's not mailed to you. So if you've been purged or you're on some list that they don't like, the inactive voter list or some other BS, they won't send you that mail-in ballot. Even though you're a citizen, a registered voter, they won't send you your ballot.
Now, you went into some solutions, particularly for mail-in ballots in the book. Can you kind of summarize that? Because I think with the pandemic amidst us, that's very important information.
Yeah. How to save your vote. By the way, at the back of the book, to save your vote, mail-in, showing up, whatever, I have something called Greg and Ted's new improved ballot condom for safe voting. It's 7 things. So it's not actually something you wrap around the ballot.
Not yet.
Blow it up. But you do memorize the 7 steps, including how to take care of your mail-in vote. Because mail-in voting, like I say, in America is hell. 1 in 5 votes aren't counted. So, whoa. As MIT did that study, and they said, if they didn't count 1 in 5 ballots when people walk into the precinct, there'd be riots. But how come we don't care about the lost mail-in ballots? And this is going to be the key to the election. And by the way, Ron, it's not anyone's ballot that gets thrown in the dumpster. In Florida, for example, the U.S. Civil Rights Commission did a study. They said votes that are disqualified, they call it spoiled in the biz, overvoted, undervoted, spoiled. They have all these BS terms. The truth is that if you are black, the chance your ballot will be thrown in the dumpster for some technical reason is 900% higher than if you're white. Got that? So when we throw out 2 million in-precinct ballots, we throw out 1 million mail-in ballots, it's overwhelmingly ballots lost from voters of color and young people. That's the dead cold statistics, and we got to reverse it. So there's a lot of things you can do. 1, apply for your mail-in ballot really early. 2, you're not going to get your ballot if you're not registered. So right now, in the corner of your screen, while you're listening to Greg Palast blather on about how Trump stole 2020, steal it back by checking your registration. Every single state, well, except for South Dakota, because South Dakota doesn't have registration. But 49 states allow you to look at your registration online, go to your Secretary of State's office or vote.org, and re-register if they got it wrong or you're missing. And by the way, I walked the walk. I looked up Greg Palast, and it said no such voter in California. So I re-registered online and I saved my vote.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make